Hello and welcome back again to RP-0 America. I'm going to bring down the Mercury capsule now. So I was, kind of strategic about where I selected to bring it down. So we still got Kathy in orbit here. I had a glitch that required a FAR update to the version of FAR that's on GitHub because I was getting, there's a handover of the responsibility of a thermal thing recently, so I had to make sure I had without it, but basically without the most recent FAR from GitHub, I ended up boiling Kathy. So I'm glad I did a simulation. So let's see, we were about 7 minutes away from where I plotted to come down. So the yellow line is going to be roughly where we are. The Earth will rotate a bit by then, and of course, won't be perfect because we're trying to come down. So even though it's a ballistic trajectory, we're going to lose some of that trajectory on the way in. So let's just warp to where we're coming in. So 6 minutes from now, and then we'll set off the Mercury reentry pack. So she was up for a pretty good amount of time, 19 hours. All right, and let's set this off now. So there's a pretty big difference of where you'll come down depending on when you set this off. I think I actually set it off a few seconds early last time, so I'm going to try to split the difference this time. A little closer to 11 seconds before the node, because according to this it's 22-second burn, but it won't be perfectly accurate because of this is shifting substantially what the burn what the rated thrust is, therefore how much fuel is consumed as it goes through this burn cycle. Also, I'm a little off target. Let's try to improve that a bit. Alright, and reduce the go to the mild RCS. Alright, so once that's burned out, I will jettison this pack. It should succeed here. Come on, nearly done. Last little bit, there we go, flamed out. Alright, so pop that off, and I will have to rotate a bit in order to get the orientation I want for re-entry, but I'll wait until I kind of get to that entry interface first. So yeah, Earth rotates underneath us. So during my test of this, I got a pretty good view on the way down because I kind of timed it so we want to hit ocean. Just because of how many hours we have left of life support supplies, I won't be able to wait for the Earth to rotate so that we can land on the other side of the Americas here. So we're going to land just off the coast of South America, and let's see, and just after sunrise or sunset, either way, the sun is going to come over our horizon during the descent, which was really the thing I was aiming for, because during some of my heat shield tests, so I didn't get bored of bringing the Mercury or Gemini or Apollo capsule down again and again while I was working on RP-0 or on realism overhaul for 1.1. I made interesting trajectories. So in one, I came down, I think it was either Gemini or Apollo, so I had it come down over Ireland and then the UK, and then we kind of did a little bit of a bounce trajectory and then landed right in the English Channel, which is impressed by the ability to still hit water there. And I also did that at sunset, I believe, sunset or sunrise. And so if you're below the 150 kilometer point, then you get the sunrise or sunset like this. So where I'm here, let me reduce that. So the Earth is being artificially lit. I apologize, it'll be a little dark for some of this, but hey, I think it looks better. So the sunrise, as it comes up, it'll change color because it'll actually use that scatterer effect as it comes over the horizon. And in the distance, you can also see the a little bit of Z fighting, but you can see the really high mountains, which are pretty cool, I think. So I will just add this light back so you can actually make out the terrain. So there are mountains, I believe those are on the coast here, somewhere here, and so they're actually high enough that you can make them out. In RSS you don't usually see much for mountains, the terrain differences aren't so huge that you often see mountains, but if you come down in certain spots of the Earth, you will, or ascend from certain spots in the Earth, you will really see that. So over the connection between North and South America here as I come down, and I think the horizon coloring looks really pretty, and there we go, we're starting to dig into the atmosphere, get some G-force, so hopefully the crew member survives here. Not getting much terrain shading, but in part that's because I'm right right at sunrise or sunset, and there's kind of a lot of haze from Scatterer here because of that, because I'm so close to sunrise or sunset. But you can still make out the mountains in the distance, and most of this shape, I believe, is just clouds and shadowed clouds as I come down. So I'll pull up the thermal information. Do I already have it set? So the way that you get it to show, exposed skin temperature, etc., is physics, thermal, display thermal data, and action menus. So this is kind of really important for if you want to. I recommend doing a simulation of your missions without a crew member, just to make sure that you've got the trajectory down. Kind of note the details of your mission to make sure you can reproduce survivable reentry, because it can be tricky with right now you can see we're not going to burn through all the ablator. So in 1.1 realism overhaul, we've added a charred ablator, so the mass of the craft doesn't change substantially, but it still gives you kind of a reason or an understanding that the ablator is being consumed or expended. It's no longer it's no longer active and useful for your craft as it gets spent. And I thought the clouds in this area also looked really neat. So you don't see the why am I only burning a little bit of the ablator through? And so because we were setting it up so the only amount of ablator lost would give you an accurate mass difference of the craft. I wonder if that's multiple layers of clouds, because they have really interesting patterns. So we've now passed the maximum G-force. We're well past the maximum exposed skin temperature, and that's coming down. And we're getting less and less ablation. We peak at a pretty high G-force for these Mercury capsules. So, like I said, I really suggest doing a simulation. Oh yeah, and good, I did come out down in pretty much the same spot I did before, because you can see there's a mountain that's jutting out above the clouds, which is pretty neat. So there aren't too many spots where you get a really spiky mountain. But yeah, there's something here, maybe this that I'm circling, is a mountain that is pretty substantial there. Not sure what country it's in. I'm interested in these things. If somebody can tell, let me know. What country is that? Maybe what mountain that is. But it's really pretty in the distance as we come down near sunrise or sunset. One day I'll figure that out. It's just so confusing. Like, I can't figure out time zones, let alone whether the sun is coming up or coming down over here. I could probably figure it out, but I could also probably figure out what mountain that is and what nation that is, but I don't and I won't. So Mercury capsule is successful. That wasn't an ideal re-entry, but I have done some tests, have noted down numbers obviously of what target for. And because I'm using this recreation craft, I just rely on the amount of delta V to deorbit myself safely that the Mercury capsule used itself. I didn't go through any big detail about setting the angle that I used to burn it at to come down or anything, and I wasn't in any specific historical orbit or anything. So a lot of that just ended up working out nicely for me. But that's why I tend to do a simulation, take notes on what was my peak temperature of the skin versus the this peak temperature that the capsule skin will allow, and what was the peak G-force, what was my orbit before and after the deorbit burn, various things like that. Because it's cool, it's neat to see the details of a successful mission, but it's also useful for carrying out future missions, as it is in reality. So we're coming down into the ocean here. Because it's near sunrise, sunset, I can't see everything, but I think Cuba's up there, the island of Hispaniola. I'm sure there's plenty of other islands scattered around, but I think those are over here, unless I'm mistaken. But you can't see because of the clouds. But coming down, probably in a place America has never landed something, but it still was too pretty of an opportunity to give up in order to land something here. So let's see. Let's pop the cap. Are we below speed of sound yet? Oh yeah, we're way below the speed of sound. Okay. And I'm just going to angle the camera because, deployment, I need to set that to when I stage the parachute to arm it, not to actually try to pop it. Because previously in 1.0.5, I would get lockups. I had that happen while I was recording one video where the game would actually lock up for me if I let the camera get underwater during descent. Which is funny, but it was a weird glitch and one I didn't have the time or interest to kind of sort out figure out what was happening. But here we come down. And let's see, it looks like we've got a little more time, which is good. So I was doing a little bit of experimentation to figure out, what do I want to build next. So I don't have the technology for a Gemini capsule. I can't build that. And I'll have to look at what contracts are available to me and where we are in time. I still need to check if maybe there's a Mercury mission I could do, or rather a Mercury flyby or a Mars flyby mission I could carry out. So here we are coming down into the ocean, a pretty scatterer sun on the water, and I'll just angle the camera up here so it doesn't get wet and potentially lock up my game. But I don't think that will happen in 1.1, but you never know. I'm never sure, so I'll just not let the camera get wet and try to capture. Come on, recover vessel. Stop bobbing. Well, I clicked something. We'll see what that was, whether that went to the Space Center or whether it didn't. I've got a number of bits of technology queued, and I'll have to figure out what mission to carry out. But I do have a series of engines. Let me pull up. No, come on. There we are. All right. So I have a number of engines that I looked at the details for. Some LR89s, LR79, and the actual H1, where I currently have the Saturn 1 config unlocked. Let me just check if I actually did recover that vessel or not. Splashdown. All right, and I still have the original uncrewed vehicle Splashdown. So recover, and okay, and recover. There we go. So we got crew back. Crew got us a couple points of experience. Awesome. And we completed a whole whack of contracts, which is great. I'm sure we got lots of cash from that by putting our first astronaut in orbit and bringing her back. Okay, so I did a little experimentation, and it's a bit tricky to see the information, but my next kind of series of rockets I plan to build kind of by my own designs for the most part, or I guess I'm in the planning stages for some rockets of my own design. And thanks, by the way, for all the comments of what things you'd like me to see me build. I'll be probably glancing near some of those designs, certainly. I have another series ongoing that I haven't had time to put into recently, where I am planning some Mars missions kind of in the line of Mars Direct or Mars Semi-Direct. And I am aiming to do, like, to put crew into perhaps Venus or Mars orbit, but not currently planning to land something like the Ares mission that was suggested from the book Journey, I believe. Just because that's a really heavy craft, and really, honestly, in RP-0 or anything, I haven't actually ever put crew into orbit of Venus or Mars, so I plan to complete that accomplishment first. Once I can do that, then yeah, I probably will try to design something to land on Mars, kind of with 70s, 70s or early 80s level technology. So let's see, I've got tons of vessels here, all my old ones. So I'll just grab a random one. Hopefully it doesn't cause anything to fail. But so I kind of created a table with a number of values, and it would be nice. I wish I was able to see all these values in game without having to put them into table, but you get to benefit from all the kind of details and things I did. So let's just throw a bunch of oh man, I set these up in pairs or something, didn't I? That old crazy rocket I built. All right, so the three engines I was looking at, so I'll show you what I'm looking at. So basically, in my next real series of rockets, I will be building similar to a Titan II with some modifications probably, which will put Gemini into orbit. But after that, I'm in the planning stages for a more interesting rocket, which will be more divergent from history, I think, which will be kind of like a Saturn 1. So one engine option is, let's see, the LR-89. Okay, so it has a config that I was looking at. Let's see. So what I was looking at is the 7.1, so it's a $1,250 engine. It has, you can't see this here, but I guess you might if I click on something else. Get you out of the way. So if I hover here, no. So we're currently working out a bug Agathorn does the work. Nathan Kell does work on it too, and all I can really do is characterize an issue well. But if you see, it says the rated burn time, which is super useful rather than having to go to a different dialog to see what the rated burn time of config is. But this one doesn't show it. It kind of gives you the old detailed text for that rather than also adding and showing the burn time. But this is the config I was looking at. So it has a rated burn time of 165 seconds, which makes it useful for a first stage engine. It's one of the more expensive ones I'm looking at. It's $1250, but it's also I think it's the most efficient one actually. It has a surface level ISP of 258 and a pretty good thrust as well, a surface thrust of 822. So that's one I'm looking at for using for my as I build up to my larger rockets. If you guys have a preference, let me know. I'm mostly going to try to track down which of these engines is the most useful for kind of gathering data towards future craft. Because I have test flight installed, if I use engines, hopefully using those engines will be providing useful data towards future engines I plan to unlock. So then I looked at two configs in this. So there's both of these. So main engine for kind of Thor vehicles and what was the expansion for the Thor called Delta. So they were used as the main engines for the Delta. So see, they're quite a bit. This one's far cheaper than the other engine I was looking at, and this one's almost as expensive, but still. So one advantage. So this one, it's way cheaper. It's not quite as efficient. It loses 10 points of ground ISP. Has the same burn time though, and not too much less thrust. 737 kilonewtons versus 800 and some. So some less, but not a huge difference considering the huge price difference. And same rated burn time. And this is kind of up to the next tier of engine. So it's an odd one. So it has still not a huge surface level ISP. So this is really where you see it as a useful core engine if you're going to use boosters, which is what it was used for, which is why I like to follow the historic engines. So an engine like this was used in something like the Delta. So it doesn't have great surface level ISP, but it has a long burn time. So it doesn't show it in here. I'll show you where I found the number. Soon, hopefully, it will actually show it there. But this is how you do testing with test flight, and I personally find it really interesting, kind of determining a good balance of properties for engines to use for your launcher. Let's see, come on. So if I right-click, I right-clicked, and this window is going to stay up and persist. And if I scroll down, so those engine configs I was talking about, you get to see the test flight reliability data, which is super useful. So I look at the green number because that's the actual rated burn time. When you go past that, you get a penalty. I can discuss that later, but really you can figure that out yourself or look into it. But really, the green number is what you're looking at. That's the limit of the engine. So the first one I described, the Dash 11, same thing, 165 second burn time, but you do have to come here right now to see that detail. Did I grab the right engine? Yep, 79. So see, rated burn time of 165 seconds, but that other config I'm looking at, the Dash 13, so it's meant as a core sustainer engine, it's like a lighter version of the LR 105 used on the Atlas, which I'm kind of hovering over right under there. So you add kind of solid boosters to a Delta vehicle, and that kind of gets it off the ground, out of the lower atmosphere, and that also lets you build it with a longer tank so that you can burn it for much longer, because 260 seconds is a much longer and better rated burn time. So that's what you're getting if you go with this. You're paying for a longer burn time, not more efficient or anything. If you go with this specific version of the engine, you're going for a longer burn time, and so that means you're going to use boosters. I currently don't have good solid boosters. All I have are these, and as you saw, I need to use if you looked at previous videos where I used this lunar lander vehicle with kind of a Titan II, etc., these are not very powerful solid boosters, and I'm not currently researching better solid boosters to pair with it. So if I was really to use these, I might actually have to use side liquid boosters or something, so that's a bit awkward. But if you go with the NA13 over other versions, you get a long burn time, not as efficient. And the last version of the engine I was looking at, kind of bumping up against the time I want for this video, so I'll quickly show that off. So I had to pay to unlock this. It was expensive to unlock, like $30,000 or something. But so I currently have this config, and just because of the way the hover text, this tooltip shows, it only shows for not the current config you have selected, and I can't unlock those. So I'll quickly tell you, so you can see it has a high thrust, just like the first engine I showed you. It has a high price. It's actually more expensive than the engine I showed you before, and it also doesn't have a better burn time. Come on, where are you, engine? There we go. So just quickly, that's the LR105 Atlas Sustainer engine I previously mentioned. And if I scroll down here, you can see the Saturn 1, so not a very long rated burn time at all. And when you move to the better, a better version of it, which would be the next one I'm likely to unlock, still not a much longer burn time either. So if you get this engine, what you're getting is a bit of power, because it's as powerful as the the LR89 version 7.1, but it's way more expensive, same amount of thrust, pretty much the same efficiency, actually 3 points less efficient than the LR89 7.1. So if you go with this engine, you're kind of moving yourself to, prep yourself to use these engines, the IB version and the RS27. But yeah, that's basically the choice I'm making now. If you have a specific preference, suggested, I may not necessarily take that suggestion though, because like I said, some things lean against me using the LR79 version 13, because the longer burn time would require me to have some kind of boosters for it, and I don't have good solid boosters right now. So I'm kind of leaning towards something more like the Saturn 1, but that's where I am right now. So thanks for watching. This was RP-0 America. We successfully brought the first astronaut back from orbit, which was fun, and hopefully was a beautiful view. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.